Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here, and welcome to another video. And in this video, we will not be going down rabbit holes. We refuse to go down rabbit holes. We're just going to look at all the relevant information in regards to that promo we saw via the mask on SmackDown. In our previous video, we covered the spoken aspect of the Bray promo. There were a couple of things I missed, so I'll tie those up at the end of this video. But for now, let's get down to business. Let's look at what we know. Now, overall, this seems very clear that Bray Wyatt is in a battle with himself, a feud with himself. There's this lighter side of him, the more vulnerable side that we saw last week on SmackDown, still with a sprinkle of anger, because he's still not showing remorse. The fact that he promises to do bad things and admits to those shows that he's still not showing remorse. He's still not taking accountability for his actions. So it's fair to assume that this isn't a completely healed version of Bray Wyatt. There's still this multiple personality angle. On the flip side, he's trying to fight his inner demon. This is the mask. This is the sinister side of him. This is the side that will make him do bad things without remorse. And the mask itself is a talking point, because we've seen seemingly three versions. We've seen blue eyes of the mask, we've seen green eyes from the mask, and red eyes from the mask. Is this to signify multiple personalities? Now, of course, we saw Bray return to WWE with that mask on. And obviously, he didn't have red eyes or green eyes. It was just Bray Wyatt underneath that mask. Now, at that point, I think it was just a nod to what was coming. And I don't think we need to look into anything more than that. I really don't. And if you think about it, if he had like red eyes underneath that mask, for example, there'd be no intrigue as to what was to come. And also, don't you think it would be a bit odd if he pulled the mask off and he's got contact lenses underneath as well? That would kind of spoil the image, wouldn't it? So I wouldn't read too much into that. But I think moving forward now, we're seeing the evolution of this mask in different form. And if you remember, when the mask was saying in this promo, "Why would you lie to me? Why would you lie to the ones you love?" When he said, "Why would you lie to me?" the eyes flashed from blue to this sinister red, this dark red. So this is seemingly the dark entity. The red eyes is the darker version of Bray, the one he's trying to fight, the one that he's going to be a servant to, because maybe he's frightened of becoming that version, that force. Now, the way I took this, the threats, the fact that the mask is annoyed by this, and the fact that the mask said, "Why would you lie to the ones you love?" I think that the mask, the darker side of Bray, is using two people that were closest to Bray that he lost. He lost for good. Brody Lee and his friend JR. And I think he's using the spirits of those via Uncle Howdy and potentially Uncle Harper, which we'll get onto in a moment, in another form. So it's going to mess with Bray's mind. That darker side knows that Bray's vulnerability and the emotion he would show would be triggered via the friends he lost. Why would you lie to the ones you love? He's using the ones he loved as his power card to turn Bray to that dark side. But Bray's refusing because he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's up to, so he's refusing to acknowledge that. And the mask has now gone, right, okay, here's Uncle Howdy, here's JR. Now, this character could be played by someone completely different. Remember, it's just via the spirit of that. The physical version could be someone like Vincent. It fits the bill. If you look at the end of that scene, when you see the Uncle Howdy mask, you get Vincent vibes, don't you? That's the impression I got. Now, what the crown thorn means, is it some biblical reference? We don't know. Definitely going to be something dark and sinister, that's for sure. But what if initially he's using Uncle Howdy as a play card, and then you've got, of course, Uncle Harper coming soon, and he'll be the next reveal. And then Bray's trying to fight these. He's trying to fight his demons, because ultimately they are his demons, right? And I really like that thought. I really like that theory moving forward. Now, in between, of course, you've got, this always happens in a Bray Wyatt promo, a few red herrings. You've got these figures that come up, the owl mask, the figure standing at the top of the stairs, these disfigured faces. I wouldn't read too much into this. You see this a lot from Bray Wyatt Cryptic promos. A lot of these are just stock images anyway, like the rabbit figure that we've been seeing coming up. I wouldn't read too much into that. It's just showcasing that something dark is going to come. Like, you've got the hands that come up. He's got the whole world in his hands. Or maybe he hasn't got the whole world in his hands because he's battling this inner demon. So I wouldn't read, again, we don't want to go down rabbit holes with that. There's no point. All we got to look at is the fact that the mask is now revealing Uncle Howdy and using Uncle Howdy against Bray Wyatt. Now, a lot of fans have been speculating that maybe Uncle Howdy could be a puppet. Maybe he's actually not a real person, and it could be, you know, an evolved version maybe of the Firefly Funhouse. I think potentially that could be a little bit too much of a reach, but it's worth mentioning the fact that the lips don't move when he says howdy at the end. And either or, this could be Arthur Morgan coming to life from Red Dead Redemption. Who knows, is that Arthur Morgan? But you've got to remember that JR, the real life friend that Wyndham lost, seemed like he was a bit of a cowboy. Like a lot of the pictures that we've seen, it seems like very much that maybe Howdy might have been his other nickname he may have had. And maybe the dark side of Bray Wyatt, that sinister mask that we've been seeing, is then using it as a power play to prey on Bray Wyatt's vulnerable side. Now, we know 100% that Bray Wyatt is not killed. We saw another QR code, and when we scanned that, it went to a psychological examination from Bray Wyatt. Now, when we look at the psychological evaluation, it's clear that Bray Wyatt back then didn't acknowledge the fact or wouldn't recognize the fact that he had psychological issues, that he wouldn't show empathy, showed a total disregard for others. And we know he's got that dark, angry side to him. We know that. He even acknowledged that in his spoken segment. And you can clearly see that he hasn't recovered 100% because he confessed that he's going to do bad things within WWE, that he has these anger issues. So he's not fully cured. He's not fully healed by any means. And talking of not being fully healed, and shout out to Amazing Guy for this, Alexa Bliss isn't fully healed. She had therapy, she had psychological evaluation. You got to think they're going to tie that up. There's no way that Bray Wyatt is not going to acknowledge Alexa Bliss, Randy Orton at some point, potentially Goldberg and Roman Reigns. And the wink at the end of that previous promo signifies that wherever that circle takes him, I reckon eventually that will lead him to Roman Reigns. The whole reference to pulling the spears out of the ribs, yes, it was a biblical reference, but could be parallel to Roman Reigns. The fans were letting him know, reminding him that he needs to get revenge on Roman Reigns, and that day will come. Maybe not just yet. It could be a feud with the Bloodline, potentially, and that could be why we've got the red and the blue in the background from that promo as well. So that could be a nod to Survivor Series, potentially. But overall, it has that feel of Bray Wyatt's fighting the inner demon, and this mask is using the loved ones to play with Bray Wyatt's mind. Now, who's going to play that Uncle Howdy? It could well be Vincent, couldn't it? It could well be. We don't know at this stage. We're going to have to see what's coming moving forward. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see those two characters in Uncle Howdy and Uncle Harper revealed, played maybe via Vincent and Dutch, and then there's kind of that correlation between the spirit of JR, Bray's friend, and Brody Lee within that. And he's using those emotions, the mask is using those emotions to turn Bray back to the super, super dark, sinister side that we love, let's face it, we love on this channel. It's also worth noting there were some links when you called the ID number within the psychological report, it come up with a David Bowie song, which I thought was really interesting. The man who sold the world. Also in the lyrics it says, you know, I refuse to acknowledge that I wasn't in control, or we weren't in control. So again, some parallels to the mask and Bray there, which I thought was really, really cool. But I wouldn't overthink that too much. And I wouldn't call that number in the night because it'll scare the living daylights out of you too. But overall, this is really cool. Thanks as always for watching the video. Be really appreciative. If you can like the video, share the video, and even better, subscribe if you're new. Loving doing these videos. Love the input that you're giving in the comments section. As always, don't be shy to get in the comments section. Share your thoughts and opinions.